and welcome back to the NWA 1983 project. I'm your host, Juan Cena, and with me, as always, is Matt Riley. How are you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm awake and alert.
All right. Good way to be at 2:30 in the morning.
Yes, it is.
All right, fantastic. So this episode will be another wrestling extravaganza, but this time it will take place from Tampa, Florida. On this episode, we will talk about some of the great wrestling extravaganzas came from the state of Florida. Would it be the Super Bowl wrestling, the last Tangle in Tampa, and Battle of the Belts 1, 2, and 3. In addition, we're going to talk about this year's Starrcade 2017, the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes looking to finance their own 10,000-seat venue to put on a wrestling show, and many other topics as they arise. But first, Starrcade 2017. Now, this was essentially a house show that they slapped the name Starrcade on. Now, the reason that they're doing a house show here is because the same weekend was WrestleCade, which is a big wrestling convention that happens around Thanksgiving time every year for the last couple of years. It's been around for quite a while, and you get all your legends coming from reunions. A lot of independent promotions come into Greensboro and the surrounding areas to put on wrestling shows. So the WWE, not to be denied here, is going to try to take from that and place themselves into the marketplace by running Starrcade from the Greensboro Coliseum. Now, the attendance was 10,234. I did see some pictures, and it didn't seem like it was a sellout to me. But anytime you see those pictures on the internet, a lot of guys are posting pictures before the show starts or an intermission or something like that. So just be mindful of that. So in reality, you don't really know until the actual real figures are presented out there for that. Again, this was not a WWE Network exclusive. A lot of people were not happy about that. But I think the reason why they didn't put this live from the network was, number one, it's a house show. Number two, I think they wanted us out, and I don't think they got it. So the reason they left it in the dark. But it was taped. From what I understand, all house shows are actually taped for, I guess, insurance purposes or whatever. Or if they have something happen at a house show, they can grab it, or they could end up releasing these down the road, as content for the WWE Network. So there's a lot of reasons why they do tape it. So the only way to really watch this match was by watching 10-second clips on Twitter. That's how I watched the events, or people's cell phone cameras. So yeah, I mean, modern technology. So I think it was probably in their best interest to actually show this. Maybe not live, but 2 days later they could have aired it on the network as a network special. But they decided not to do that for whatever reason. So starting off with this particular show, first up we had Bobby Roode, who defeated Dolph Ziggler. And this was a single match with Arn Anderson as the special outside enforcer. And I think the thing that really stuck out in my mind was that we seen Arn Anderson hit Dolph Ziggler with the Spine Buster.
Indeed,
and he can still do it. So that got a really good pop from the crowd. So happy to see Arn Anderson out there. In match number 2, we had the Bludgeon Brothers. That's Harper and Rowan, Mike Kanellis, the Colognes, and Rusev, who defeated Breezango, Sin Cara, the Ascension, and Ty Dillinger in a 12-man tag team match. I can't see this match being any good whatsoever, to the point where there was no videos or clips of this match anywhere. So I don't think this
was a bathroom break match.
On second too. So
all the videos were guys in the line in the bathroom.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I do like Mike Kanellis, formerly known as Mike Bennett, from Ring of Honor, but they haven't really done anything with him. But I like the team of Aiden English and Rusev, although they haven't done much with them as of late. And the Colognes are the Colognes, and I'm assuming the Bludgeon Brothers are going to get a push forward. So they got the win here. Next up, we had Naomi, who defeated Tamia with Lana, apparently, in a singles match. I don't know if this match was for... no, they don't have any belts. So, yeah, it's just a match to have a match. And something that got a lot of publicity, we had the Goldust as Dustin Rhodes, who defeated Dash Wilder. Dustin had done this thing where I think he originally comes out as Goldust, and then he takes off the robe, and maybe he had the wig on, and revealed to be Dustin Rhodes, because his dad did create Starrcade and all. And he defeated Dash Wilder, and from all accounts, it was a pretty good match. So I think Dustin Rhodes needs a title run. You have 2 belts. as kind of like a lifetime achievement award to give him, a 6 to 8 week run as champion. Why not?
Over Dolph. I'm sorry, Dolph. I meant Brock.
Well, they wouldn't go over Brock because this is SmackDown. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
So it would be AJ or Jinder at this point. But why not? Why not give him a little run? You have these belts, might as well use them. And he can still work. He can still fucking go. So yeah. I bet you an AJ Styles Dustin Rhodes match would be amazing. They're not going to do it, but I could wish, right? Next up, we had Nakamura, who defeated Baron Corbin, who was the United States champion, by disqualification. I believe before this match, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat came out because apparently he's Asian. Ricky Steamboat is as American as apple pie, so I don't know. Fucking weird. But yeah, he gave the rub to Nakamura, and then Nakamura won by DQ. Match number 6, he had the Usos, who defeated the New Day, Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. This is where the Hardy Boys came out and the Rock and Roll Express came out. Apparently, I was under the impression that the Rock and Roll Express was going to battle the Club on this show, but that didn't happen. The Rock and Roll Express did not even work, although they probably worked 6 times that weekend, so they can still fucking go too. They have another run left in them. But yeah, Usos win here, standard fare, probably a good house show match. Match number 7, you had Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair. Of course, you can't have Starrcade in Greensboro without having Ric Flair there. And she defeated Natalya by submission, and this is for the Women's SmackDown Championship. It was a steel cage match. I guess it was pinfall, submission, or escape, as we find out in the next match. You gotta have Flair on Starrcade.
Of course.
That's just kind of the deal, right? And then the main event was AJ Styles defeated Jinder Mahal by escape, and AJ's the WWE champion currently. Now, this card got all fucking jumbled up, because remember, originally it was Jinder Mahal taking on Nakamura in the main event, and they had changed the entire card up for whatever reason. Now, we can speculate into that when we talk about Survivor Series, and there's a good possibility that Brock Lesnar did not want to work with Jinder Mahal, so they slotted AJ Styles in his place.
Do you think, well, side note here, do you think the failure for Nakamura to be bigger is with the fans or with him, or what do you think is causing?
He's over. He's over.
Yeah,
but they don't know how to use him. The way you use Nakamura, and I think that little feud with Jinder Mahal hurt him because he didn't have the matches. Because Nakamura is going to work Nakamura matches, so you need someone that can work that style, that Japanese style, right? So Nakamura can have great matches with Sami Zayn and AJ Styles and Finn Balor. Jinder Mahal, who is a Western traditional wrestler, and he doesn't have the ability to adapt to Nakamura, they weren't going to have good matches. So I think those matches really hurt him. And then they threw a bunch of gaga bullshit, a lot of interference in those matches. And at the end of the day, Nakamura didn't get the dupe on Jinder. Nakamura being essentially worldwide probably a bigger star than Jinder Mahal at this point. Remember, he was a top guy over in Japan. He has a victory over Brock Lesnar for the IWGP title. That kind of stuff. And I think it hurt Nakamura's credibility here a little bit. Getting beat up by Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
Let's see what they go with. He's down the card now. He had the matches with Baron Corbin, and we'll see what they do with him moving forward. But I think Nakamura's probably just waiting till his contract expires, and he probably is going to be on his way back to Japan. So if they sense that from him, they're not going to give him a push that they think he's going to go back to Japan relatively sooner rather than later at this point. And when he goes back to Japan, he'll be, I think he'll be twice as big than he was before. So we'll see how that goes there. But I think overall, calling this a Starrcade from promotional purposes is fine. I mean, all people are offended that it's not a pay-per-view and they're not making a bigger deal about this. I'm assuming that once positive reactions essentially all around in terms of the card and matches and that kind of good stuff. So it's a possibility that they may make this a pay-per-view next year, as a SmackDown branded pay-per-view for 2018, but we'll see how that goes. Again, they did re-up on Clash of Champions, Halloween Havoc, and Starrcade, so don't be surprised next Halloween that you might get a Halloween house show called Halloween Havoc, or they might do a Raw or a SmackDown and just name it Halloween Havoc if it happens to be on Halloween. They didn't do it this year, which was weird because I think Halloween wasn't Halloween on Monday this year?
I think it was.
It was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday, so
they
could have
done a Wednesday.
So next year it'll be a Wednesday. So they don't run shows on Wednesdays. So but we'll see what they'll do with that. Maybe they'll do the Tuesday show as Halloween Havoc on SmackDown or whatever. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, excited to see Starrcade. Nice to see the Rock and Roll Express. They're getting some of their money because they're on Legends contracts, from what I understand. If you go in the Hall of Fame, they put you on a Legends contract, so they get to release action figures of you, T-shirts, put you in the video game, and they can call you for. They have first. I guess they have first right of refusal.
Oh,
so
really?
So if they call you for an event, you have to appear. Doesn't matter if you booked for another one; they can pull you off a show.
Oh.
So you lose some of your booking ability, but I don't know how often they're gonna call the Rock and Roll Express back. So
Well, I do know that next month, Clash Champions is coming to Boston.
oh,
One of my coworkers actually just got tickets, and he's right near the ring. It's $180. Him and his brother-in-law and some friends all bought tickets. $180.
that's not bad.
I wouldn't know, but I was like, wow. He's like, yeah. We're right near, like, I guess the entrance, like when you walk down the left side. He said. So
like that's like bad seats for SummerSlam.
yeah.
So
I think it's Clash of the Champions. It made me think. Do you think SmackDown's going to start going with a lot of the old NWA stuff to kind of help separate the brand?
that would be the smartest thing to do.
You got Starrcade, Clash of Champions, Halloween Havoc. What was the other one? Bash.
Yeah, Great American Bash.
Those. I mean, and again, I think in some ways you get the nostalgia, but the thing they always miss out on is the nostalgia is part of what sells.
Yeah.
The only time I don't like it is when they have Royal Rumble and you have a roster with 80 or some odd personalities itching to get a promotion or shine, right? And you bring back Hacksaw Jim Duggan or some shit like that. There's no need for that.
I definitely agree. But if you want to do it on like some of the old school Raws that they've done in the past, they haven't done one lately. But they had the Raw 25th anniversary coming up next year. Which tickets for that, by the way, for the Hammerstein are going for $500. And I refused to pay more to go to that show than I did for WrestleMania. So you can suck my nuts.
There you go. Like, sir, I noticed you didn't put your card number here. What is that for? Suck my nuts. All right, well, there you go.
It's Starrcade. I love Starrcade. Except for Starrcade 2000. And 89. And 91.
Yeah, there was a lot of bad Starrcades.
99, 2000, 89, 91.
What was this? Was it 93 where Flair fought Vader?
Yes.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Good match.
99 was bad. 2000 was bad. And you can throw in 87 if you really want to. It's Ronnie Garvin versus Flair in the main event.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Road Warriors didn't win the belt in Chicago.
Oh, that was brutal.
Yeah.
Vince booked it.
I've maintained on this show that there was a period of time, probably starting in 1989, where I don't think Starrcade was supposed to be their preeminent event. I'm of the opinion that as of 1989, they always tried to push it to the March event to compete with WrestleMania or the February event. So if you watch like Starrcade 94, and they're really pushing for Super Brawl. Like the whole show, they're fucking advertising because it's Vader versus Hogan at Super Brawl, and at Starrcade, it's it's Hogan versus British Beefcake. And they're really kind of pushing for this Super Brawl. Like, they didn't do the Sting title change. That was supposed to be in either Capital Combat or WoW thing. Right?
Capital Combat.
But they didn't do it in Starrcade 89. Starrcade 90 had the Black Scorpion, so that's all. But they didn't do the title switch there. It's funny because they didn't do the title switch there with Flair. They did the title switch like 3 weeks later at a house show. Flair regained it from Sting. So I think there was a concerted effort to get away from. Bischoff claims that Halloween Havoc wouldn't be their big event for the year, which is odd to me. I think the Super Brawl.
You had to bring Abdul the Butcher back every year to electrocute him. That's the problem.
That's awesome. They did the referee cam. I don't know if you remember this, Matt, but they used to have this. They had Nick Patrick wearing a fucking helmet with a camera on it. It's ridiculous. So you can see people not interfering.
Right.
Although it might have been kind of cool to see a ref bump from the ref's point of view. Well, they never did that, so.
Oh, ref bumps.
Yeah, man. So speaking of large events, since what you're watching on the screen is the last Tango in Tampa, or the new Tango in Tampa, whatever you want to call it, I want to talk about wrestling extravaganzas from the state of Florida. Now, it starts with the Super Bowl wrestling here, and this was... And we talked about this show before. It's the show that had... So the Super Bowl wrestling... 1978, and the Orange Bowl. Now, understand, the Orange Bowl is huge. That's where they have WrestleMania. But they drew 12,000 fans, and it was a unification match between the WWF champion and the NWA champion. And Matt, I wonder what was the result of that match.
Could it be a draw? Double count out?
60-minute draw. But the card was what's interesting here. So you had Rocky Johnson, who defeated the Killer Carl Cox. Ivan Putski defeated Ox Baker, which is something I would like to see. Joyce Grable won an 8-women battle royal. Chavo Guerrero defeated Tank Patton. Bobby Duncombe defeated Don Serrano. Keith Franks beat John Ruffin. Mike Graham and Steen Kern defeated the Valiant Brothers. Pedro Morales defeated Lars Anderson. Jack and Jerry Briscoe defeated Ivan Koloff and Mrs. Saito. Dusty Rhodes defeated Ken Patera. And then the main event, Billy Graham takes on Harley Race, and it's a 60-minute draw. Now, there's clips of this on YouTube because, again, 1978, so they probably filmed the whole show, but on TV, we only got clips of the Graham Race match. And, you know, that interview is leading into it. It was really good.
The Omni in Miami, Florida, where the press luncheon was held, where the contract was signed, pitting superstar Billy Graham, the WWF champion, against Harley Race, the National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Champion. This is something that has been the dream of the 3 leagues of wrestling for years and years and years, and finally being culminated at this time. You see the press luncheon at this point in time. I'm introducing the president of the National Wrestling Alliance, Mr. Eddie Graham.
Thank you, Gordon. There are actually 3 leagues. The National Wrestling Alliance, which is the largest and oldest sanctioning body. The title is traced back to the days of Frank Gotch. And sanctions matches in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Canada, and most of the United States. And then, of course, the WWF, which is an honored and respected league that is recognized up through the Northeast. And then out in the far Northwest, Minnesota, and through that part of the country, the American Wrestling Association. That champion was invited to participate, and for some reason or other, couldn't be negotiated.
There's the superstar Billy Graham, also Harley Race and his wife. There's Jim Selman from the Tampa Tribune, Johnny Valentine, former U.S. heavyweight champion, many other press dignitaries at the table. The president of the NWA, Eddie Graham, now describing the conditions in the contract. Both wrestlers are to post a $25,000 bond before the match will take place. The winners to get 70%, the losers to get 30%. And at this point, the contracts have been read and are being returned to the contestants.
Over the contract, and I think at this point, are there any questions?
I have none, Gordon. As I talked with both of you earlier, I think the contract says primarily what we want it to say. I think the only thing that is lacking right now is the time between now and January 25th when we can get this thing underway, and once and for all, let's arrive at who is the best in the world of wrestling.
And so, at the offset of this thing, I would like to, right at the beginning, for the sake of the press, I would like to congratulate Harley Race being man enough to accept a challenge match from myself, and myself also being man enough to accept a challenge match from Harley Race to declare once and for all who is the greatest in professional wrestling. And my goal in match is to become the heavyweight champion of the world. Now, I'm sure that Harley Race's goal, since he is already the heavyweight championship champion of the world, in becoming possibly the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion, would be a tremendous status symbol, a symbol of pride and dignity, and a tremendous monetary gain. It's very important.
The conversation continued at this point, and of course there was a discussion as to who would supply the referee, and that point is still being negotiated. The match will be held. There will be representatives from both the Worldwide Wrestling Federation and from the National Wrestling Alliance, officials and referees from both sides. There you see superstar Billy Graham signing the contract, the other contract now being signed by Harley Race. Both of these contracts exchanged, and one being held now by the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the other one by the National Wrestling Alliance. And so it has come true. The Super Bowl of wrestling. It will be held in Miami at the Orange Bowl, the site of many Super Bowls in the past, but for the first time in the history of professional wrestling, this will be truly the Super Bowl of wrestling. Worldwide Wrestling Federation representative, their champion superstar Billy Graham, facing the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race. January 25th, Miami Orange Bowl. At this time, it's my pleasure to have with me the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion superstar Billy Graham. To my right, and of course to my left, the NWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion Harley Race. These two men have agreed to meet each other, both titles on the line, January 25th in Miami at the Orange Bowl, the site of the Super Bowl many, many times before. This is truly the Super Bowl of wrestling, and I would assume, Mr. Graham, that even though you are a seasoned champion, that this has to create some butterflies.
The only thing that it creates for me is confidence in myself. I know I'm the man of the hour, the man with the power to defeat this man. I'm going to stand right here on public television that's going to go around the world. I'm predicting right now I would have never signed a contract. I would never have risked so much money, fame, and glory if I didn't know in my own heart, in my own mind, and in my soul that I'm man enough, more than man enough, to defeat Harley Race, and I will become the National Wrestling Alliance heavyweight champion of the world.
Mr. Race?
Gordon, after 18 years in professional wrestling, how many people do you think that I have stood and heard and listened to say exactly the same thing over these years? I've been National Wrestling Alliance World's Heavyweight Champion twice around. I've already went through the flamboyant BS that this man is living in right now. Now I'm listening to it all over again from a guy that wants to be where I'm already at. A man that wants to knock the top round out of the ladder and replace it with himself. Well, let me tell you something, superstar. When you want to replace that round, you come well prepared for the damnedest fight you've ever been in your life, because that's exactly where I am at right now, and there's not a man alive going to take it away from me.
There you have it.
Just a minute. You said you got 3 boats, you got 3 yachts, you got 3 wives, you got 3,000 girlfriends, you got all this and that, but you have this, you have this, you have 22 inches of power, do you have a race, huh? This is what's going to win the title, and don't you forget, do you have this?
I don't need pumped up baloney. I'm already a man.
Here, Don, the weather conditions were not the best. Have been raining intermittently from 6:30 that evening. This is the final and main event now. The two men being introduced. You were one of the 2 referees. There's Harley Race, the World Heavyweight Champion, along with and there's superstar Billy Graham, and of course Gorilla Monsoon, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation referee.
Yeah, it was a great idea to have the 2 officials. I think it was very fair, and Monsoon incidentally did one heck of a job. He's really a fine official. And it was important with as much carrying here as it was. It had to be that way. You had to have 2 top guys who knew what they were doing and totally independent of any kind of influence.
And the 2 of you did interchange as the refereeing went on, and of course you can see at ringside, right up close inside the railing, photographers and all from the various national wrestling magazines, Associated Press, also Japan was represented. This is a highly critical match for both of these men, and superstar Billy Graham taking an edge right here. As we mentioned earlier, Don, the footing was extremely treacherous.
Well, it sure was. It could have been raining on that canvas, and did you see the way he slipped then? His leather soles, it was just like ice skates, and of course, it's a tribute to the athlete who's able to have the superb balance to be able to maintain his footing as well as they did. And of course, that's the secret. These 2 men, obviously, they're the best in the world, the two best men in all of wrestling, and you would expect really to see them handle themselves as they did.
They were in tremendous condition. I know, of course, that superstar Billy Graham had gone into intensive training out in Arizona. Harley Race, of course, is in constant training, and it was for everything. It was all at stake here. The Worldwide Wrestling Federation Championship and Harley Race, and this could have ended it right there had he not been made of such stern stuff, had he not been so tremendously well conditioned.
Well, exactly. Of course, there again, he slipped and lost it completely, and then they went right over the top and down onto that, and that was solid there. There was nothing to land on but that good solid ground, and he came back beautifully from it. And that's another skill that, of course, this is something he's been effective with. As long as he scores with it, it's fine. But the fact that he missed, that too could have finished him.
Well, these are great athletes, and of course, the rematch has been signed, which is a critical aspect between the Worldwide Wrestling Federation and the National Wrestling Alliance. This was part of the original negotiation that took place when the first Super Bowl. And there's the first fall. Of course, this was actually 40-some-odd minutes into the match, and Harley Race succumbed to the bear hug applied by superstar Billy Graham. At this point, had it been a one-fall match, Superstar would have been the champion.
Yeah, it would have been all over with, and of course that, too, was why they wanted to have the 2 out of 3-fall match, just so that a fluke of some kind wouldn't end it all, and I think it's a good idea. It has great merit. It's a good way to do it, and we're hoping that we'll be able to negotiate that same arrangement for the match in Jacksonville.
Here's where both of them went through outside the ring, and Harley Race recovering a little faster, suddenly quickly jumping in, hoping perhaps to garner a fall here on a countout. This is Gorilla Monsoon from the Worldwide Wrestling Federation in there refereeing at this point, and then the time changed and you stepped in.
Right, and I was in there on this thing, and of course it was getting so critical right at this point. The time was running out for Harley.
And with about 7 minutes remaining in the match, that pinfall was scored. The match is resumed once again, and it looks now like it's beginning to turn in Harley Race's direction.
Yeah, that's his kind of match. He's the kind of guy that keeps bearing down on you, and he doesn't mind as long as he can hold you, keep you going. He's going to force you, and that was exactly from now on. He really began to drive in, and of course it was that was the secret, and he almost got to him. He just very, very close, very effective attack that he had mounted at this point. And this is the way this man goes.
Of course, injuries in such a violent body contact sport as professional wrestling. Any professional athlete has a lot of tremendous body contact, but most of them have a lot of padding, like your football players have the shoulder pads, the hip pads, and what have you. But injuries do occur, and particularly in matches crucial as this one, injuries were bound to happen, of course, and both of these men took the measure, I think, extremely well.
They sure did. Of course, the thing is that they were trying everything. They were trying every kind of shot you could think of to get in and get the takedowns and score and get the men under control. And as a result, they were banging heads quite a bit. It was a real rugged. It was an extremely physical match. It's the best way to describe it. They were just after each other all the time, and no sacrifice was too great, as you can see here. Harley desperately trying to score that pin, and he's just desperately trying to get out of it.
Superstar Billy Graham still on that canvas, and it is Harley Race who appears to be dominating at this point. And Don, the time continues to run out.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, at this point, they were both exhausted and just trying desperately, but they were almost losing control of themselves, really by trying to force it too hard.
And there were no half times. There were only 1 minute rest periods between falls, so they had 2 minutes of rest during this entire hour. There was no halftime ceremonies, or there weren't any going back into a huddle or an offensive coming in.
They couldn't wait for the other 10 guys to do it. They had to do it all by themselves, and whatever they scored and wherever they were able to gain, they gained themselves, which is, of course, the story in wrestling. That's why it's a one-man-on-one, an individual sport, and it's got to be the greatest sport of all.
Certainly no question about it. In just a few moments now, as time is rapidly running out, Harley Race using the sleeper hold quite effectively. Apparently could not quite cinch down enough. You can hear the crowd now counting the time.
Well, that's exactly what happened, because he couldn't get him. He had his own chest and arm in the way, and he couldn't get the shoulder down. And he finally does get it down, but by the time he did, Monsoon indicated that it was too late. The bell had gone. I couldn't even hear it. There was so much noise.
And there you have it. And so the first annual Super Bowl of Worldwide Wrestling Federation and the National Wrestling Alliance ends with both men taking one fall apiece. The time has run out. It certainly was an epic match, no question. We're in the dressing room now at the Orange Bowl in Miami, where wrestling history was made this evening as the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion superstar Billy Graham and the NWA World Heavyweight champion Harley Race put their titles on the line for the first time in the history of pro wrestling. And that marked event is now history, but it is still unresolved because neither man was able to gain a definitive victory over the other. Before I talk to the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race, let me give you a rundown of some of the other matches that occurred. Pedro Morales successfully defended his Southern Heavyweight Championship against the challenge of Lars Anderson. And the bright side of the evening, no question about it, Mike Graham and Steve Kern defeated the Valiant Brothers, the U.S. Tag Team Champions, and are now the youngest members ever to win the United States Tag Team Championship. And our special congratulations. I hope to talk to them a little bit later on. Also, Dusty Rhodes defeated Ken Patera, making him a #1 contender for both the Worldwide Wrestling Federation belt and the NWA Championship. I want to take a moment right now to talk to Harley Race, because obviously, Harley, you have to be, well, sitting here now with mixed emotions.
First off, Gordon, before I get to mine, I want to put credit where credit's due and congratulate Steve Kearns and Mike Graham, because they upset a much, much bigger and rugged team, and they done it quite decisively. And just listening to you talk about the NWA versus the WWF, there wasn't a person that left the Orange Bowl, and you saw countless hundreds of them as I walked back to the dressing room, that did not think that I had the upper hand. When the 60-minute bell was ringing, superstar Billy Graham was asleep on the canvas. Did not get up for some 2 minutes later. You witnessed it. Some 15,000 plus wrestling fans witnessed it. There's no doubt in my mind. Sure, I've got mixed emotions. But as far as doubt, there is no doubt in my mind that I can beat superstar Billy Graham. It was proven right here tonight to me. Maybe not legitimately to the wrestling fans or to you or anyone else, nor does it really matter to me that it wasn't that way. I know in my own mind, in my own heart, that I can beat Billy Graham, that I am truly world's heavyweight champion, and there's nothing, not a thing on the face of this earth that's going to discredit me. And if he wants to get back in that squared circle, we can darn well do it again.
There you have it, and of course there was a rematch clause, so it remains to be seen if these two great gladiators will meet again.
But pretty nondescript, and there's a lot of people I don't even know on this card. Like, I'm not sure who Tank Patton or Don Serrano or John Ruffin are. So it looks like it's a co-promoted show between the WWF and the NWA. That's why you see, like, Pedro Morales on it, and the Briscoes on, and Dusty, and Ken Patera. So, yeah, we did 12,000 people in like a 70,000 seat stadium, but it was probably configured differently, because they used to configure those differently, like Texas Stadium. Like, they didn't do a true sellout. So that's like the first large event. Now, a lot of people say a lot of different things about precursors to WrestleMania and big pay-per-views. I mean, there's been wrestling extravaganzas going back fucking ever, right?
Right.
You know, these big events, would it be Live from the Omni? Would it be Thanksgiving night, Christmas night spectaculars, stuff going on in the Superdome? Like, there's always been big events, but nothing essentially shown on television until probably Final Conflict, which was, in 1983. And that was a test. They were testing it to see, because they were doing Starrcade later on that year. And they were really kind of, working with closed circuit locations at that point. So you can argue that's the first closed circuit event. Even that's dispute, because Super Sunday was also closed circuited, and that was your Hogan, Nick Bockwinkel screw job finish on that. So it's always in dispute. The last Tangle, for the longest time, I thought it was the last Tango in Tampa, which to me makes more sense or less sense than the last Tangle in Tampa. Again, this is Dusty naming stuff again. Dusty is the booker at the time here in Florida. This card did 17,883 at Tampa Stadium, which is a really good house for that. Singles match, Scott McGee defeated Bill White. Jimmy Garvin defeated Bobby Jaggers. Bugsy McGraw and Dick Murdoch defeated Ivan Koloff and Nikolai Volkov. Dick Slater, the Florida Southern Heavyweight Champion, defeated Barry Windham by countout. Jack Briscoe defeated Mr. Saito. 7 women battle royal, won by Wendy Richter. Singles match, Jerry Briscoe defeated Lord Alfred Hayes. Mask versus Mask. Super Destroyer defeated Mr. Florida, which I have no idea who Mr. Florida was. Andre the Giant defeated the Super Destroyer. And in the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship match, Les Thornton defeated Mike Graham by DQ. Interesting here, a WWF heavyweight title match, Bob Backlund defeated Don Morocco by DQ. And then in the main event, NWA World Champion, best 2 out of 3 falls, no disqualification match, special referee Fritz Von Erich.
No.
Dusty Rhodes defeats Harley Race.
Harley Race has never pinned me. I went to bat with Harley Race, beat him, pinned him in Tampa Stadium, just like I said. Fritz Von Erich called it like he seen it. I will never wrestle Harley Race again as long as I'm a professional wrestler. Harley Race has not long to live. Tampa Stadium seen the greatest night of excitement. 1 hour Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race went. There is no reporter, no writer, no person out there that cannot believe that Dusty Rhodes is the world heavyweight champion. I don't want nothing now but to mind my own business, take care of business around the state of Florida. Harley Race can go crawl in the corner, take care of his wife and kids, try to make a living where he can, because I pinned Harley Race. He has never pinned me, will never pin me. The last Tangle in Tampa was his last chance. Anybody that was here knows that I took it to the limit. A lot of respect for Harley Race, a lot of respect for Fritz Von Erich, and a lot of respect for the people of the city of Tampa, because this is a milestone for wrestling in Tampa. The sport that gets pushed around, shoved around, jotted around, shoved around, put on the back pages. But baby, there were 20,000 people who gave a damn about what was going on. And as long as I'm able to walk, as long as I'm able to do all my stuff and strut my I'll do it right. Harley Race, good luck to you, Daddy. It's over with me and you.
Sort of. So apparently, it's 2 out of 3 falls, but it goes 60 minutes. Dusty wins 1 fall to 0, but apparently, the rules at the time, you would have to win 2 falls over the champion to be the new champion. Which would contradict something that Mike Graham said Battle Belts won, but we'll get into that when we get to Battle Belts won. I saw clips of Dusty Rhodes versus Harley Race. Fantastic match. Dusty going an hour is amazing to me. Both guys are like completely, out of gas. Nice struggle. Good match. The promo that Dusty cut after this was amazing. And he does go on to win the World Heavyweight Championship not too much longer after this. I think 6 months or so, because then he drops at the Flair. But weird seeing a WWF heavyweight title match and an NWA heavyweight title match on the same card, especially from Florida. But again, we do know about Vince Sr.'s relationship with Eddie Graham. But it's still pretty cool to see. So we have Battle of Belts 1. This was September 2nd, 1985. This is in Tampa, Florida, at the Sun Dome, drawing 7,600 fans. Again, there was a hurricane going on at the time, so that may have negatively affected the attendance. If you watch that show, it's available on YouTube. You'll see, like, it's half full. They're losing the feed. Lights are going on and off, so yeah, it's rough. But this was a co-promoted show. Again, this must be during the time of Pro Wrestling USA between the AWA and NWA. So you had Hector and Chavo Guerrero, who beat Rip Oliver and the Grappler. Hector did pin Oliver. Coco Samoa, who pinned Rip Rogers, your favorite wrestler, Matt. Kendall Windham pinned Jack Hart, who's Barry Horowitz, to win the Florida Heavyweight Championship. The Southern Championship, Ravishing Rick Rude pinned Billy Jack Haynes in 14 minutes. This match is awesome. AWA Tag Team Champions, the Road Warriors, double count out with Harley Race and Stan Hansen in one hell of a brawl. Nick Bockwinkel pinned Frankie Lane. Now, apparently, the AWA champion at the time was Rick Martel, and he was on his way to the building, but he couldn't get in because of the hurricane, and he was stuck, on a tarmac somewhere. They couldn't let him in. So essentially, Nick Bockwinkel had beat a jobber for 4 minutes. And then the main event, NWA World Champion Ric Flair beat Wahoo McDaniel. Again, it was the best 2 out of 3 falls match. What I mentioned earlier is that Mike Graham mentioned during this match, because Wahoo McDaniel beat Flair first. And he said, McDaniel has to do, if it goes a time limit, he'll win because he took one fall on the champion, which contradicts what happened at the last Tangle in Tampa. So I probably Mike got that wrong, or he got excited, or he doesn't know the rules.
Yeah.
So Wahoo McDaniel beat Flair via sleeper hold at 24 minutes, and then Flair beat McDaniel at 40, and then Flair pinned McDaniel at 43-17. I think the finish of that match, if I recall correctly, was the Bret Hart Roddy Piper finish. So McDaniel has Flair and the sleeper hold, and Flair walks up the turnbuckles, goes backwards, 1, 2, 3. That's in the match. Another thing that kind of sticks out is Wahoo McDaniel going after the World Championship in 1985. In doing the 1983 project, I'm already trying to work Wahoo McDaniel out. I don't think in 1985 he should have been anywhere near the title scene, but the match kind of proved different because he had one hell of a match with Flair. So
yeah,
I'm thinking he's past his prime, but he showed right here that he can still go.
Well, I think my only thought of Wahoo was that I think he brought a lot of intensity where a lot of guys didn't have it. So I think you're like, oh, let's put this guy in promo, and he cut promos that were pretty good. That sells tickets.
Yeah, and those guys just beat the shit out of each other for 43 minutes. And Wahoo and Flair had good matches in the 70s, and it was pretty familiar. Again, I'm curious about why Dusty is not on this show.
Maybe he was hurt.
I think he saw the Hurricanes. Like, I'm not going to leave North Carolina. I'm not going to leave Charlotte. Screw that. I'm not coming. Because he's booking Crockett at this time. And this is right after Eddie Graham had passed. So Crockett had taken over Florida by this time. So it's curious not to see him here in Florida. Although to be honest, I did see an interview with Dusty where he's kind of talking bad about the fans of Florida, where he felt, and this is on Florida TV, that the fans of Florida abandoned him a little bit. So maybe he's just pissed. I don't know. The following year, and on February 14th, Valentine's Day, in Orlando, Florida, at Eddie Graham Sports Arena, they don't have an attendance figure here. Battle of Belts 2, you had the Bahamas champion Tyree Pride, who beat Ron Slinker, for the Karate Man. You had the Florida champion and the skinniest man alive, Kendall Windham, who beat Prince Ikea. Not that Prince Ikea, different Prince Ikea. People think Prince Ikea, think WCW, but different Prince Ikea. NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion Danny Brown beat the White Ninja via DQ. The White Ninja being the Great Muta, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. Lex Luger pinned Jesse Barr in 20 minutes to win the Southern Heavyweight Championship. I love tank top headband wearing Lex Luger when he has the beard.
Yeah.
That was really cool. But yeah, Jesse Barr is one hell of a worker, also known as Jimmy Jack Funk, by the way, guys.
He's dead, right?
I think both Barr brothers are dead. Art Barr is definitely dead. I'm not really sure the whereabouts of Jesse Barr currently.
I don't think he knows either.
Yeah. Bruiser Brody went to double count out with Wahoo McDaniel. 5 minutes too seems kind of short for a Wahoo and Bruiser Brody match. But again, bedlam and craziness all over the place. The Road Warriors with Blackjack Mulligan went to double count out with Kevin Sullivan, Mark Lewin, and Maya Singh. Now my copy of this, it goes out where it freezes, but you just hear the audio, and I wonder why that happens. So I wasn't able to see this match in its entirety, just the first 5 minutes or so. So that's a little disappointing.
Jimmy Jack Funk, not dead.
Okay.
He's 57.
Jesse Barr still alive. Bless his heart. And the main event, you had NWA World Champion Ric Flair went to a double count out with Barry Windham at 41-41. Now, this match right here is amazing, by the way. Barry Windham had just returned back from the WWF, and he's, from what I understand, Dusty was pissed that he left Crockett and went to WWF, so he just kind of chucked him in Florida for a little bit to kind of pay his dues.
Yeah.
But he had an amazing match with Ric Flair here, and this might be as good or even better than their 87 matches. So I definitely highly recommend to watch this Ric Flair versus Barry Windham match. Again, cheese ending with a double count out. Fucking let Flair go over, for fuck's sake. Just one time.
Oh, we talked about that before, but yeah. I think they hurt Flair's brand by not giving him more wins.
Yeah.
I always feel like, you're never, I get the idea of the heel, coward champion, but you're never hurting your title by having the champion win.
No. You're not hurting the babyface either. For fuck's sake. Later on that year, you had Battle of Belts 3. This was September 1st, 1986. This is from Daytona, Ocean Center, which is a beautiful building. I went there once for graduation. It's really, really cool looking. Yeah, Jimmy Backlund, who beat Bob Hook. Jimmy Backlund being the Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey, by the way.
Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey!
That was awesome.
Oh, man.
Tyree Pride, the Pride of Haiti, pinned the Cuban Assassin. It's funny because my copy of Battle of Belts 3 does not have that Jimmy Backlund versus Bob Cook match. It starts midway through Tyree Pride versus the Cuban Assassin. You had the U.S. Tag Team Champions of the Fabulous One who beat the Sheepherders, also known as the Bushwhackers, when Lane pinned Williams. Fabulous One were rocking their zebra tights here. I thought they were still in AWA in '86, but I guess I was wrong. I guess they were in Florida.
They had some fantastic matches with the Moondogs and the Sheepherders.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Stan Lane is amazing. Steve Keirn is really good, too.
And here's a bit of trivia. I was always under the impression that Stan Lane was the only wrestler that Ric Flair personally trained.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. That makes Terry Taylor really jealous.
Why?
Because Terry Taylor's a big Ric Flair mark.
Yeah.
You ever notice that Terry Taylor wears his knee pads underneath his knee like Flair does?
Yes. I actually met Terry Taylor at a camp once.
Yeah. Did he say racist things to you?
No, but he did teach me a trick. Anytime I'm taking a photo with people,
yeah.
He said this, and also he wasn't even kidding. He was like, anytime I'm taking a picture of people, you want to look bigger than you're the wrestler. So if they're taller than you or not, do the same thing I do. And I'm like, okay. And what he does is, as he takes the picture, he like leans up on the balls of his feet.
Yeah.
So he like kind of leans in, but he looks taller.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna admit I do that ever since.
Well, that makes a lot of sense now.
But it's just like, all right, So it was a good class. He came to Killer Kowalski's and like gave a session about working and like if you want to go, things you got to do. He was big on fundamentals. He was big on working the crowd. There was a big thing of working the crowd. And I think a lot of guys, I mean, my thoughts on Kevin Owens, but I think the reason he stands out is he's such a good guy working the crowd.
Yeah.
And just to watch a match. Like I was watching, what's his name, Elijah Sampson, whatever he called himself now.
Elias Sampson, yes.
Elias, whatever. Fuck him. The problem he has, work the crowd more. Like you're doing a song to get heat, but once the match starts, you just kind of forget about the crowd. Same thing with Jinder Mahal. Turn and look at the crowd. Engage them. Come on, guys. Like the best wrestlers do that.
Yeah.
The crowd wants to be part of the show so bad. Tease them.
Terry Taylor still is working at the Performance Center down in Florida for the WWE now.
Really?
From what I understand, he's a good teacher, just a bad guy.
Hey, no one's perfect.
Next up, we had the White Ninja, who beat Tim Horner to win the United States Junior Heavyweight title.
Oh, White Ninja.
Yeah. Great Muda, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Hit him with a moonsault. It's funny because Muda came out there and no paint, Muda, just Muda, right?
Yeah.
As the White Ninja, but I'm pretty sure he's wearing black pants. But that's a whole other fucking thing. Came out the ring with Kendo Nagasaki, which is weird. And I'll tell you why that's weird in a second. Because next up, AWA World Champion Nick Bockwinkel beat Kendo Nagasaki in 7 minutes via DQ. And Kendo Nagasaki is managed by Oliver Humperdinck, but the White Ninja is managed by Kendo Nagasaki, so it's weird.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. The Road Warriors, double DQ with Ed the Bull Gantner, which is a name that We probably should talk more about, but there's not a whole lot to talk about him because there's a big muscle guy that
he died of cancer, right?
I don't know what happened to him.
I think it was cancer.
Was it? I thought it was steroids.
Oh, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Poor Ed the Bull.
Yeah, and he tag teamed. His tag team partner was one of my favorites, Kareem Muhammad. Also part of the Zambui Express. But don't you think do you think the Road Warriors should just beat these guys? Like, what the fuck? Like, why is it double DQ? Like, it's the Road Warriors. Fucking beat. Like, can you get Kareem Muhammad is legit, like 20 something. Get him up in the fucking Doomsday Device. That's an awesome spot.
Yeah, that was.
Man, what are you doing? Again, you have the skinniest man alive, Kendall Windham, beat the Bahamas champion, Chris Champion, in 4 minutes via DQ. And then we had an NWA World Title match, Ric Flair, who drew Lex Luger, who they fucked up his name because I hate when they spell Luger with an A-R instead of E-R. It bothers me. But on the graphic, they spelled his name wrong, which is sucky. Flair pinned Luger in 12 minutes, 7 seconds. Luger pinned Flair in 14:40. And then the time limit expired during the third fall. So it's a draw. 34-minute draw. There you go. Okay. You had to get in that Barry Windham versus Ron Bass match. That was the main event for the Florida title. Barry Windham pins Ron Bass to win the Florida title. I don't think Barry comes into Crockett until, I think comes out like right after this. But Ron Bass, this is pre-WWF run, post-Crockett run, I assume.
Yeah, he was a good bad guy. I remember the WWE. I remember liking him as a bad guy. But quick aside, Ed Gainer shot himself.
Oh, okay. With steroids.
He got steroids and his kidney started to fail, so he got a transplant from his sister, got back on the steroids, didn't work out. He was sick and kept getting ill and, was depressed, and then he shot himself in the heart. So, way to go. Sister donated a kidney. Oops.
Yeah, if you...
A-hole.
Here's the thing. If someone gives you a kidney or a liver, you should respect that person and not do the thing that got you in trouble to begin with.
Right.
So, yeah. So just a side note for all you people out there. So those are your large wrestling extravaganzas in Florida. Again, Dusty Rhodes at none of the Battle of the Belts, which I think is probably a poor opportunity. No Kevin Sullivan either. Any of these. Well, you get Kevin Sullivan in the last one, the second one. Yeah, Kevin Sullivan on the second.
Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah. Mark Lewin, still top of the card in 1986. I think he started wrestling in the 50s. But he's huge. He's huge. Yeah, he's wrestling Buddy Rogers and shit. So, strange things that I've seen in wrestling this week. A couple of things come to mind here. Again, I watch a lot of wrestling in between these shows. Not only the shows that we're going to talk about, but just in general. And you find the funniest, silliest, strangest things when you watch, like, WWF TV, like Primetime Superstars, All-American Challenge, WWF Spotlight, if you got that show in your area. And this week, a couple of things that come to mind. A setup for an Akeem the African Dream versus Saba Simba feud. Tony Atlas had just come back in the company in late 1990, and he's going to feud with Akeem over who is the best African-American wrestler in the WWF.
Of all time?
Of all time.
One word. Not The Rock.
No.
Akeem.
I'm not sure that program got off the ground because I know that Akeem, One Man Gang, left not too long after that. I don't think he was even around for Survivor Series 90s.
The business never recovered.
No, Tony Atlas wasn't around for that long either, so he was gone relatively quick. Yeah, there's something uncomfortable about watching Tony Atlas do a, I guess, authentic, lack of a better word, African dance. It's weird. I don't get it. He should have been fighting Kamala. That would make more sense.
Yes, it would have.
Yeah. Than Akeem. And it's tone deaf, maybe slightly racist and offensive. Different areas there. Fucking Christ. Something that wasn't offensive, Power and Glory. So I'm watching an episode of Primetime, and I see a match where it is Hercules and Paul Roma tag teaming. And I'm like, oh, it's Power and Glory, but they weren't Power and Glory yet.
Yeah.
But this is a babyface Hercules and Roma team before they became Power and Glory, which I've never seen before. Now, I always thought that Power and Glory started essentially when, I think it was Paul Roma and Marty Jannetty were having a match. And
Jim Powers?
No, this is Paul Roma. Jim Powers is the Young Stallions, by the way.
That's something, all right.
So Paul Roma and Marty Jannetty are having a match. I think Jannetty gets the win. Shawn Michaels come out. Paul Roma and them argue. Hercules comes out, and then Hercules and Roma turn on the Rockers, right? And that's the beginning of Power and Glory. I never thought they had a match before that, but it makes sense of why Hercules came down. Essentially, it looked like Hercules would come down and be Peacemaker, and then he ends up turning.
Yeah.
So yeah, most people don't remember a pre-Power and Glory Hercules and Paul Roma tag team, but they did it. So again, when you watch these shows, it's like you always see kind of crazy, kooky stuff that doesn't normally go down like the way you would kind of remember it. So next up, we have our good friend and modern wrestling correspondent Luke Martin. He's going to take us through Survivor Series 2017. And I'm here with Luke Martin, our modern wrestling correspondent, and we're going to discuss Survivor Series 2017. This was live from the Toyota Center and beautiful and palatial Houston, Texas. So I guess the overall wrap on this show is that it was actually pretty good. It was one of those shows that when you look at it on paper, and I said it on this show for a couple of weeks, that it looked like garbage. It was not garbage, so I was pleasantly surprised. But oftentimes, shows that look like garbage on paper end up being better than you expected because you expected nothing. But overall, I think most people on the internet really did enjoy this show. So we'll get right into it, and we'll deep dive into it right now. Starting off with our first match. Now, it was the Shield of Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins who defeated the New Day of Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods. It went 21-20. It was a six-man interbrand tag team match. So, Luke, what are your thoughts on this match?
I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I was kind of questioning why they put them on as the first match, but I think that it definitely set the tone for the rest of the night, and it was a good way to get everyone warmed up. I really enjoy, this really, when I say that they set the tone, it really made you excited. They had already, they had done, hold your horses here, some logical buildup to the pay-per-view to establish reasons why these factions would want to come into the pay-per-view to fight.
Oh, okay.
Like, I just want to emphasize the fact that it was logical reasoning behind their feud.
It wasn't just a winner's purse, like Gorilla
No.
stuff?
It wasn't a winner's purse. It wasn't because there was a logical reasoning. So this pay-per-view as a whole was developed in a way that established reasons why these matches mattered, even though none of the matches resulted in anyone winning anything. You had better build-up to a match that literally meant nothing than some matches that are for titles. So, but this match was really neat. It was neat to see the Shield versus the New Day. Obviously, with the invasions of the various and respective stuff, they kind of spearheaded it, and I thought that was a really good plan. It was really cool to see them. They're both they're really amazing factions, and they're very different factions, and just seeing them go together was really well. Everybody looked strong in the match. Nobody was made to look weak. Nobody ran over the other person. It wasn't shitty booking. It worked really well. It was an enjoyable match. When I watch a pay-per-view, I try to look at it as like a smart mark, which I don't know shit about the business, but I'm trying to think, like, would this make sense? Like, why are they doing this? And also, I try to look at it as just like a wrestling fan. And both of those needs were met in this match. I was excited. It was fun. It fed into the fan in me. And then just kind of as like the Monday morning quarterback or whatever in me, it made sense. Why? Because the Shield went over. Obviously, the Shield should go over if you have 3 former world champions as a stable. You can't have guys that aren't that go over them. That doesn't make any. How are you going to establish those guys as credible threats if they're getting beat in that situation.
Yeah.
But it still made everybody look strong, and it made sense. You could see that Big E looked strong against Dean and Seth, and also against Roman. So, you know, there was those things, and there was just, it was good. I really enjoyed it. Everybody seemed like they like busted their balls to get out there, and it was a fun match. The crowd got into it. I got into it. I was pretty excited about that, and I think it really set a positive tone, because I think really the good thing about this Survivor Series was, even though none of these matches meant anything, this really showed why the WWE is good. Like, it showed all their talent. It showed why people get excited about them, and it kind of fed into what the fans wanted to see for the first time. And I can't remember the last time.
I think in terms of Roman Reigns, I think they went back to the drawing board with him. Putting him back with the Shield. He just recently won the Intercontinental Championship. So it looks like they're going to try to rebuild him back up. Instead of kind of just interjecting him in a top spot where, you know, the fans would obviously turn on him. So keeping him with the Shield is good. Have you noticed a lessening of the boos as of late?
Oh, I mean, like, I was excited. And I marked out for Roman Reigns when he showed up. Because he's been sick. He's been out for a while. Showed up behind the Shield. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
they were like, the big dog is here. Everybody marked out for Roman. That's where Roman needs to be, and that's where they need to keep that feeling. If he had won the Royal Rumble the year before, that's where he was at before they kind of ruined that whole ball game. And I think that he can get back there, because honestly, Roman Reigns, he's good. I mean, I saw him live. Like, he's good. He always puts on a good show. He's not ever, like, really nasty and sloppy. I mean,
his crowd reaction wasn't anything. It didn't have anything to do with him, or the matches that he was doing, or even the promos that he was working. It was all about the way they built him, and I think that was the big mistake with Roman Reigns. Is basically how they booked him for the last 2 years or so, up until this point. Basically, it has more to do with Daniel Bryan than anything else, to be completely honest. Because I think if they had booked it correctly and Daniel Bryan came out in that spot in the Royal Rumble, we would have had a completely different opinion of Roman Reigns and his push. But they dropped the ball with Roman. It wasn't his fault. And I like to see that they're like, all right, we're going to start again from scratch. We're going to build him up the right way, and not kind of hot shot him and put him in a bad position. You know, he's a talented guy. He has good matches. His promos, they're okay from time to time. They're good enough. You know what I mean? And in terms of having Dean Ambrose, who's been languishing for the last year, and Seth Rollins, who's been languishing for the last year or so, putting them back together, I think it was a really, really smart move on their part.
I mean, we already talked about this. If you bring the Shield back together, panties drop and dicks get hard. I said it. Yeah. It happened. It's real. It's a real thing.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did. Next up, we had the women's 5-on-5 Survivor Series interbrand elimination match. It went 18:35 with Team Raw, captained by Alicia Fox, and we had Sasha Banks, Bayley, Asuka, and Nia Jax. And they defeated Team SmackDown. It was Becky Lynch, Naomi, Carmella, Natalya, and Tamia with Lana. So, Luke, what are your thoughts on this match?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was the first time a multi-women match did anything for any of the women in it. I thought that it was a good traditional Survivor Series match. Again, good psychology coming into it. Everybody that was eliminated, things made sense. Nobody looked weak. Like, even though Becky Lynch got eliminated really quickly, it was off a fluke, right? Yeah. Bayley came in, snuck in behind her, and pinned her, right? So all these things, Nia got counted out. So that is good. Because
how do you like the reaction between Nia and Tamia?
Yeah, that was great too. They're headbutting each other, doing that Samoan shit, and I like the fact that this match did worlds for Tamia, because it made her look threatening.
Yeah.
Because she stood up to Nia Jax. They kept talking about how strong she was. She's physically, like, putting her next to Nia Jax actually showed how big she is, and not in like a negative way. No. But she's a big woman, so they keep talking about her as threatening, and she looked threatening, and I think it was good too. Because I know that they said that Nia Jax or whatever had been frustrated with her position, and she didn't want to lose clean to Sasha Banks with 100%. Yes, she shouldn't lose clean to anyone. And the fact that they had her counted out, that was the perfect way to send her out of the match. She was the Braun Strowman of that match. And granted, they were trying to tell a different story with that. But sending her away through countout just made her look good. It didn't make her look weak. And it's stuff they used to do with, like, The Undertaker and stuff. You know, occasionally the Undertaker, if he had to get eliminated or something, he would always get eliminated in some weird way. It wouldn't be by a pin or Kane or anybody like that. You want to put somebody over as a giant, you treat them like they're big, and that's what they did, and I like that too. I like the fact that I got to see Asuka and Natalya go at it. That was interesting. I thought the eliminations were interesting. I like how they kept Asuka from getting defeated, even in a Survivor Series match. Nobody pinned her, nobody submitted her. So she still has that going for her. Made everybody look pretty good. I don't think that it hurt anybody, and I think that they put a lot of people over in that match. Even if they didn't win or even if they got eliminated, still got put over in that match because of the way that it was booked. And I just thought it was good psychology, and I think I liked it. I thought it would be cool to see Natalya versus Asuka, and it was pretty cool. They were swapping submissions and doing all this kind of stuff, and it ended up those two. I thought that was really cool, and I enjoyed it. I just thought it was a good match, and it definitely showcased the talent of all the women on the roster, which is something you don't often get to see because they always put them in like a battle royal or something stupid, and you don't really get to see that.
The only thing that was missing was the jumping bomb angels. That was the only thing that was missing. Do you see a scenario where we can see Asuka taking on Nia Jax at WrestleMania for the championship?
I think we could. I think that if they can continue to build Nia up as a monster and Asuka up as undefeated, I think that would be the logical progression. I think everybody would like to see that because I think it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing I didn't like was, and this goes for the entire show, was the Raw and SmackDown t-shirts on everyone. That shit was cheese. We know who's on each brand.
That was pretty stupid, but at the same time, it wasn't. I mean, as I was watching this, I was like, man, there's a lot of shit that I could nitpick. But I try to go like this. If I'm marked out during a match, if I was like excited because there was something going on, I don't give a shit. Like I could, you can nitpick apart a show, but at the end of the day, if I'm invested in the match, I'm excited to watch what's going on, and I care about the people that are in it, and I really am excited about what's going on. I count that as a success. And yes, it was stupid that they wore the t-shirts all the time, but it was still, whatever. Who cares?
It didn't take anything away.
Right. It wasn't going to hurt me. Like the fact that they had, fucking everyone on, every announcer on Earth on the thing, and that was, but I'm not I'm not watching it for the commentary. I mean, that was the biggest knock on the night, and at the same time, I don't really care. As long as Corey Graves puts in his piece about what's actually going on, and Michael Cole occasionally supplies something logical, whatever, that's fine. That's all I need.
Good enough. Next up, we had a non-title champion versus champion inter-brand singles match. We had the United States champion Baron Corbin, who defeated the Intercontinental champion The Miz with Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. This match went 9:35. So Luke, what are your thoughts on this match?
I think this is a hard match to book. It's heel versus heel. So who do you put over? So I did like how they had Baron Corbin put that thing out on Twitter, and Miz responded back about his pregnant wife. It makes sense knowing that Miz was going to leave for Baron Corbin to go over. Also, it's kind of hard to put Miz as a position where he's he's a rapscallion and come out and beat up. That just doesn't make. Now it was hard to book because it's is Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel good or bad? It was hard. There wasn't really a face heel kind of thing, but there's enough psychology in the match to know that Miz was pissed off at him, and that was fine. Right. So Renee Young just slid into the ring and started interviewing. What's his name? Baron Corbin. Yeah, she came in and interviewed Baron Corbin, and it was really random and jarring. But then he basically said something about he's shutting everybody's mouth. I like what they're doing with Baron Corbin because evidently Baron Corbin's an asshole, and they're letting his asshole fly free. And I think that is both weird and also I think it's good because if the guy's a dickhead, let him be a dickhead. He's a heel, and get him on a mic. If you let him say shit, he might sound weird when he says it, but at the same time, if you give him some lines of shit he might actually say to somebody, he does better. And when he told them, he's talking about people running their mouths or people, and he's like, yeah, I shut up the Miz and I shut up all of you. And everybody was boo, blah, blah, fuck you. But it was great because that got him over as a heel. That's probably the biggest heat that he'd gotten. And he was talking shit to Maurice, who was at ringside. Let the dude be a dick if he wants to be a dick. He's a heel. Like, you don't need to do that. So.
I still think he's booked too high on the card, and I think he's still green as shit. I think he could have used another 6 months in NXT.
Yeah.
But the horse is out of the barn on that one, so we gotta go with what they got. So again, he's not someone that's going to be on first and second match. I mean, it's almost main event or bust with this guy. So we'll see if he's going to be a main event or bust.
Well, he is athletic as shit.
He is athletic. He is. It reminds me of a lot of how weirdly athletic the Big Boss Man was.
Yeah.
It's kind of some
or
of the
even
things he does.
or even Undertaker. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's at that level.
No.
But I mean, I don't know. I think the biggest problem is that he's such a big dude that people expect a lot more of big guys. I mean, look at like Undertaker or even Kane. Like, they weren't doing anything wonderful when they started. The Undertaker was a fucking zombie. Like, he barely moved. He developed into those things, and now he set that expectation level. But let's be real. Like, Baron Corbin is doing a lot more athletic shit right now than Taker was when he was in his early part of his career.
I agree.
So I think you need to be a little more patient. And I think you need to understand that the reason Undertaker is amazing is because he's the exception to the rule, not the fucking rule.
Yeah.
So you can't. I would say that Baron Corbin is probably doing pretty well, but I agree he is green as shit. So
I still might think that Sid is a better worker at this point. Sid had more charisma. I mean, Sid was a bad promo, but he had charisma, which is people get confused that charisma has to do anything to do with promos. It's different,
right?
Because you're like really drawn to Sid when you watch Sid, and he's like, he looked so amazing, and they were very careful with what they did with him. But I think at this point, I think Sid might be a better worker. Not saying that I fully expect Baron Corbin to lap him on numerous occasions in terms of work rate, but we'll see.
Well, if he can jump off a top rope without breaking his leg, he'll be good. I mean, I think I'd call that a win.
He was hurt. It's not his fault.
I'm just saying. And now I can no longer disassociate my image of Psycho Sid from Marcus the Monster Monroe. Like, I literally cannot disassociate those like that from like, I can't. Anytime I see a picture of Psycho Sid, I don't think, hey, that's Sid. I just think, hey, it's Marcus the Monster Monroe.
With a KFC bucket on his head, which is awesome. So next up, we have a non-title champion versus champion inter-brand tag team match. We had SmackDown tag team champions, the Usos, that's Jay and Jimmy, who defeated the Raw tag team champions of Cesaro and Sheamus. But before we go into that, now they're having a pay-per-view coming up very shortly called Clash of the Champions. So shouldn't these matches been on Clash of the Champions? Because there'd be champions that are clashing?
That's what I was thinking, but whatever. It worked in this sense, and
I agree.
I think that it's cool that they did a champion versus champion. I think that they needed this to showcase their talent, and it really did. Like, I mean, even the matches were reviewed. They did a great job of showing why WWE and why their workers are worth watching.
Yeah.
So even this match wasn't anything spectacular, but it showed how good both teams were. So.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Usos, especially when they got, they went away from being noble savages to being more of themselves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They seem more realistic at this point. I think Cesaro and Sheamus are probably the best things that happened to each other in a very long time. Cesaro was essentially going nowhere, and I hate Sheamus with a passion. But you put Cesaro and Sheamus together, that's pretty good. I can't complain too much about them.
I enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I liked the Usos won. I really like what the Usos are doing now with their just attitude. They've changed. They definitely updated themselves. Their shit got old, and they were like they let them do what they wanted to do, and it has worked really well. And I think just everybody can say as much. When you get a gimmick that's a more of an exaggerated extension of your personality, you're going to be more successful. Now, that's not always true for everyone.
Especially if your personality sucks.
Right. But a lot of the best wrestlers, I mean, look at Austin. Austin just portrayed a redneck on crack.
Yeah.
Austin was already like a Texas redneck. He just turned that up to like 11 and went with it, and it worked really good. So I think, even Chris Jericho, those types of people, you can see The Rock, everybody. If you take a little bit of your personality and put it into a character, it's going to take you there. And I think that's what the Usos have done. And like you said, putting those Sheamus and Cesaro together, I mean, every time they have a match, it looks like they're fucking people up. Yeah. And I think they look tough. They work tough. And Cesaro's a fucking freak athlete, and he's strong as shit. And for whatever, I know you hate Sheamus, but, I mean, that dude, he looks like he fucks people up. Like, any interview, anybody that ever talked to you like that, he works stiff as shit. You can tell he works stiff as shit.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool to see, like, the Usos mixing it up with them, because it makes them look more legit. And I think that it was just a fun match. And it was neat to see them go head to head. And evidently they got beat by them in Survivor Series, or eliminated by them last year, and then the Usos won this year. So it's a nice little rivalry that they have going. So
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Next up, we had the non-title champion versus champion inter-brand singles match. SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair defeated Raw Women's Champion Alexa Bliss in 15 minutes by submission. So Luke, what's your opinion on this match?
That was a pretty good match. I mean, I like how from the gate Alexa Bliss was really aggressive, and they talked at the fact that she's like 5 foot tall, but they said, oh, she's like, she had to learn to be aggressive, blah, blah, blah. She really worked Charlotte Flair. I really like how every Charlotte Flair match, someone targets a specific part of her body and continues to work that throughout the extent of the match. And I don't know if it's just whoever booked Charlotte Flair, if it's Charlotte Flair herself.
It's probably Arn Anderson.
Yeah, I think, probably. So it's always logical. Like, they work her legs, or this time they were working her ribs. And it's always something that she has to overcome in order to put on the figure eight. So if it's her knee, they did the ribs this time. She's doing a bridge that puts pressure on the cartilage in your ribs. So it's just really good, smart psychology. It makes sense for her opponent to target that area, and it's good to see her do it. And if Arn's there to take care of her, he's the one booking the match, thinking about it in that good way. Alexa Bliss, I really like her. I think she's a good heel. She's constantly yelling at the ref, which is pretty funny. Telling him to count, and he's like, oh, let go of her hair. She's like, I know. So, she's doing her heel thing, so it looks good. Charlotte Flair did, she's just good. I mean, she's really, really good.
Do you see a scenario coming up that Carmella's going to take the belt off of her? Because Carmella's pretty much, she's getting so much steam at this point that you're going to have to book that match. And whether or not she gets the title or not, I'm not necessarily sure, but it's kind of looking that way.
Well, I mean, surprisingly, Carmella, I think, has gotten a lot better.
Real fast.
Yeah, and you know what? I really think that they've done a good job. They've really done a good job with the women's roster. I mean, the booking was stupid for a long time, but they have really done their best, and I think it's good. I think that Bayley, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch had set a tone for what the expectation was, and set the bar so high that women that aren't able to reach that can't really survive. Because look at Lana. They tried to put Lana in there she wasn't able to get to the same level that they're at. And so they put her back as a manager, because people no longer accept women wrestlers unless they're able to do the things that those women are able to do.
They're going to be able to go. And I think the fact that they brought up like 6 new competitors up from NXT in the last 2 days, 6 more female competitors, you're going to see a lot of juggling, and you're going to see a lot of new fresh matchups, which the division desperately needed.
100%. I just really like what they're doing. I think they're doing a good job. I don't know who's behind that whole effort or whatever.
Steph McMahon, according to WWE, but we know that's not true.
Yeah, who knows? But I like it. I think it's good. I think they're really moving in a positive direction, and honestly, they do a lot of positive shit when it comes to the way that women are portrayed as independent individuals, and they're not, that kind of shit. So I think it's pretty good, and I like it, and I like the match. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. And next up, we have a non-title champion versus champion inter-brand singles match, we had the Universal Champion Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman, who defeated WWE Champion AJ Styles in 15:25. So, Luke, what are your thoughts on this match?
I mean, really, it's an AJ Styles match. I think AJ Styles could, I don't know, AJ Styles could fight a fucking cow, and it'd be a fucking great match. He's fucking awesome. Brock, it was good. I mean, like, I think that's some of the best work that I've seen out of Brock Lesnar in a long time. Yeah. Like, he didn't look like he was dialing it in. He seemed to, like, he respected AJ a lot.
It seemed like a lot of rumor and innuendo out there that Brock didn't want to work with Jinder Mahal, so that's why they had to put AJ in that spot.
Well, I wouldn't want to work with Jinder Mahal either.
No, I don't want to get his back knee. It's gross.
Yeah.
I don't get pus all over me.
I just don't, like, honestly, Brock Lesnar, he respected AJ Styles. You know how I know that? Because when AJ Styles put him in the fucking calf crusher, he continued to sell the move the entire way to the fucking locker room. Brock Lesnar doesn't sell fucking shit for anyone. So the way that they had it like a match, I really liked how Brock came out, beat the shit out of AJ Styles, and AJ Styles sold it like he was going to die in the ring, like he was about to die. And I liked, obviously with the counter, obviously we knew Brock Lesnar was going to win, but at the same time, you have to have Brock Lesnar win. You can't have him lose to AJ Styles. I like how they protected the F5. I liked how they protected Brock Lesnar, but at no time did AJ Styles look like shit. So that was a really it told and did everything that the match needed to do, and even the ending was the way that it should have been, because to hurt Brock Lesnar at this point means something. So if he's limping when he leaves the ring, somebody did something to him. And he beat AJ because he's just bigger than him, and he caught him and put him in F5. Yeah. So I think all those things make sense. I think it makes Brock look more dangerous. I think it shows that he can go the distance. I think it shows that he's not going to continue to do like 5-minute matches with Goldberg. And I don't know. I think it did worlds of good for everybody, and it was a fun and enjoyable match, even if it was kind of ruined because you already knew what was going to happen. Yeah. So,
I mean, I don't think there was any doubt in anyone's mind at this point that AJ Styles is the best wrestler in the WWE currently. There was some slight debate whether he's the best wrestler in the world. Some people will go back and forth with AJ or Okada, or AJ and Kenny Omega, but that's your three at this moment. Your three top wrestlers, bell to bell, in the world today. Any order is fine. I have AJ as number one. I'm just, it's just another, it's just more proof that he is as good as we all thought he was for the last 13 years or so. He should have been signed by WWE in 2006. He was having world-class matches before that. And up to this point right now, I mean, there's no question at this point. And I hear that Vince likes him. And he went, he did that match for them too. When who was out for that one? Bray Wyatt was, when Bray Wyatt was out. So he did them a favor. And that's one of the things, listening to some of the podcasts, especially the Bruce Pritchard ones, that if Vince asks you like, hey, we're in a jam and I need you to be here, you better be there. Because, he's the type of person that respects that. And, you become one of his guys by doing that. And if you're the type of guy that says no, then, my friend, you're in the doghouse.
Well, that match was awesome anyway. He's pretty great. And I don't know. It's good to see that he's getting the respect that he deserves. And I don't know. I mean, getting the respect of Brock Lesnar, being a guy that is AJ Styles. Yeah. I think that says a lot about AJ Styles. And I think that AJ Styles is legitimately like a good person. Like, legitimately, he's a family man. He's been married forever. He's religious, but he's not like overbearing religious. He just seems like a good dude. And, I don't think anybody has anything bad to say about him in the entire industry. So
I don't think anyone's ever said anything bad about AJ Styles. I don't think ever. And that's one of the cool things. And I think, it's hard to say, but I think if AJ had gotten that John Cena push, he would have been twice as over as John Cena ever was.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it's better, and that like you said, it's kind of one of those things. But I think that it's good that he went to Japan and did those things, because I think it's better for everyone. It makes him, and it gives him a better, larger legacy overall. It makes him more of a Ric Flair than a Hulk Hogan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Next up, we had the 5-on-5 Survivor Series Interbrand Elimination Match. And then we had Team Raw, which was Kurt Angle, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and Triple H. And they defeated Team SmackDown of Shane McMahon, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, Nakamura, and John Cena out of nowhere. So they seemed to really kind of throw everyone into this match, because I think when we originally looked at the Survivor Series teams, it was kind of lacking. I think, hey, we don't need to put some more star power in here because we don't really trust, some of these guys. Some of these guys are relatively new, and we definitely need to put Kurt Angle, Triple H, Shane, and John Cena to kind of make sure that we have some star power, some stank behind this match. This match went 33-20. If Raw lost, Kurt Angle would have been fired as Raw General Manager. So there's that. So Luke, what are your thoughts on this match?
I really liked it. I do. They did throw every fucking person in there, but nothing that happened in that match was predictable.
I thought they were going to bring back Hulk Hogan and resurrect the Ultimate Warrior. Bring them back.
They eliminated John Cena. He wasn't the last one. John Cena eliminated no one.
Who pinned him?
Who pinned him? Kurt Angle.
Oh, okay.
So it's just I like that they took him out. He wasn't the last one remaining, and it wasn't predictable. I mean, obviously, Nakamura went out first, but and Braun Strowman eliminated everyone but one person, which is great. That's great. I think that was a really good way to make everybody continue to stay strong, because no one can look at Braun Strowman and say he can't beat up anybody.
Right.
If you hurt Braun, the whole team put him through a table. So that was the one time that he was pretty much donezo. But I think that they made sense booking it. I liked how it was unpredictable. I liked how John Cena, they kept talking about how dangerous he was, and they made it a point to get rid of him. I liked how, I don't know, and this is just further proof of the thing that you said about they should make all of big, Cena and Orton. The less I see of them, the happier I am when they're there.
Yeah, I agree.
I was super ecstatic to see, cool, fucking John Cena's here, and look, Randy fucking Orton here. I like Randy Orton. I forgot that I enjoyed him because he gets shoved down my throat so much, but I was like, man.
If you saw Hulk Hogan on TV every week in the 80s, he would have lasted a year.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Randy Orton. I like Randy Orton. He looks like he's cool. Looks like he's a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Every fucking time he walks the ring, and he's a fucking arrogant prick. But god damn it, he's fucking good. He's cool. The fucking RKO shit out of nowhere, that kind of thing is cool as fuck. They did a really good job putting everybody in there. Nakamura looked cool. I liked the way that they did. They had Randy Orton in there, and it was and then he started out with Samoa Joe, and then they brought in Finn Balor. And people were tripping balls because they wanted Nakamura to come in. They let Nakamura come in. They had a little match. People shouted New Japan. It was fucking cool. That shit, I think that the more WWE, and they continue to talk about how they fought in Japan and shit. And dumbass Byron Sachs was like, it's not in Japan, it's in WWE. And they were like, okay, asshole. But the announcer said that, which was funny. But the more that they acknowledge that these guys did these things, the less they show that they're afraid. They show that they're the premier brand by acknowledging the fact that Nakamura was an IWGP champion, Yeah. So I think that those things help the brand, and I think that they allowing, it was cool to see Finn Balor and Nakamura in there. It was cool to see, Randy Orton in there with fucking, whoever the hell he was in there with. Cool to see Bobby Roode go against Triple H, Nakamura to go against Triple H. It was cool to see Triple H and Randy Orton mix it up. It was cool to see they put them on it was cool to see Kurt Angle in there with John Cena. That was John Cena's first match. They mentioned that. They also talked about how Samoa Joe and John Cena both started in California. They didn't mention that he trained John Cena, but still, that was cool that they mentioned that they have a history there and they got in there. I thought it was neat. I thought they did a good job with the match.
Did Shane need to be in there, though?
No, he didn't. But at the same time, they really limited what he did. He did get beat the shit up out of by Braun Strowman, which makes sense. He also got attacked by Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, which was all right, and he beat him off with a chair. I liked how the eliminations from the Team Raw came from them not listening, like arguing, like Samoa Joe got 8 or something. But it wasn't like anybody got beat quick. Like it took, like 2 Olympic slams and a coup de grace for John Cena getting eliminated. But it didn't. He didn't Superman on anybody. And then Finn Balor got eliminated. He took it, and then Randy Orton hit him with an RKO. Like, so it was all logical. And then Shane, there was like a random twist where Randy, with Kurt Angle having him in the ankle lock, it kind of looked like Triple H kind of saved him because he was his brother-in-law. But then he just did it so he could beat him, which I liked how it made Triple H look like a dick. Because in the whole situation, he is a dick. He's imposing himself and basically telling Kurt Angle to go fuck himself. And that was kind of like the thing he did. And then Braun Strowman literally choked him and was like, "You're fuck with me again," basically. And I don't know, Triple H did a good job of selling the shit out of that. He looked like he was about to piss himself. And then he tried to attack Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman hit him with Power Slam and then Power Slammed him again. So that was cool. I mean, it kind of gave Triple H, and Triple H, for whatever fucking reason, is all of a sudden the most giving motherfucker when it comes to selling shit. So he let Nakamura and Bobby Roode beat him up. I mean, he really seems like he genuinely cares about the people that he brings in, and he wants them to be successful, which is cool to see. I think he has maybe a different outlook than the company has had in the past. But I would say that was a fun match. It was cool to see. It showed the talent that some of those guys have, and I really liked how they took out. They put in 2 new guys that are there every single week. Mm-hmm. So Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Bobby Roode. They put in like 2 guys that are like classics, or maybe 3 with Triple H. So you have John Cena, Randy Orton, Triple H, and then you put in the 2 commissioners, which made sense, right? Because they're both there. And then you put in Braun Strowman, who's a fucking beast, and he fucked everybody up. And they did a good job with that. No one literally took a whole team of 5 people to fucking put him down. And the whole other match, he just looked strong as shit. And that's the way that he should be pushed. He's a fucking monster.
You think they're going to do Braun Strowman versus Triple H at Royal Rumble, or you think that could be a Mania match, or?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I think I don't know. Triple H is still fucking yoked as shit. Yeah. And he still looks badass as fuck. So, I mean, you could put him anywhere with Braun Strowman. I think it'd be cool. I don't think he's going to beat Braun Strowman, but I think I don't know what happened with the booking in WWE, but somehow, some way, someone started to make sense of it. And I don't know why that is. Like, I don't know why they've all of a sudden decided, like, man, we're really going to start booking it this way, and we're going to make sense.
Because you notice they did a ton of changes. Like they changed matchups. They changed matches on that they advertised for SmackDown. They changed matches that they had advertised for the India tour. So they went like the full like, oh, we're changing everything. And some people will say that's from like the meningitis that people got and had to reshuffle the deck. Other people saying like, no, they went, they decided to go in a different direction. But we'll see how it plays out moving forward.
Overall, I'd say this is 100% the best pay-per-view of the year.
We still have Clash of Champions left, so.
Yeah. I'm just saying, so far of the match, it made the most sense. It was the most logical. Nobody looked like shit. Nobody got run over. Nobody got buried. Everybody that was in that show benefited from being in that show. And I think it was neat, and it really think the biggest thing they did is it highlighted every single person on the WWE roster that WWE wants you to pay attention to. And it reminded you of why the fuck you watch WWE and the talent that they have there and why those people are good. And I think, like you said, if you can bring in people, Randy Orton, John Cena, for big stuff, that makes them look better because we already know what they do. And I think, people can bitch about Triple H showing up, but when he shows up, people fucking pop for that motherfucker.
They sure do.
He's cool as shit. And he's like the fucking, I don't know why, but he just looks badass. Like if Harley Race was less insane and had gave more shits, he would be Triple H. But Triple H just isn't as tough as legitimately tough as Harley Race.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Triple H's work, especially in the last couple of years, you could always, in terms of Triple H, you can always tell there was a Harley Race influence there.
Right.
But now it's more evident than probably ever before.
Right, which is not bad, and I'm okay with that.
Well, Harley Race is the greatest wrestler on God's green earth, for Christ's sakes.
Well, I wouldn't say otherwise.
He's the toughest man alive because he shook my hand and he hurt me. And I'm not small by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sitting there with this pack of cigarettes.
He's a legit badass. He's like old school badass.
I think they had him top 5 toughest guys, right up there with Andre and Haku and Bruiser Brody and Bad News Brown. Those legit tough guys that you wouldn't want to fight. He pulled a gun on Hulk Hogan. He gave no shit.
I heard about
I
heard about that.
He tried to set the ring on fire.
He was trying. He threatened to shoot him, and then he was like, I was just joking.
And I was like, can I get a job?
Yeah. It's fuck. But yeah, he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I think overall this show was the best of the year. I think, like I said, it highlighted everything good about the WWE. And I was surprisingly happy because I liked it a lot. Made me happy. It's fun to watch. Marked out. Had a good time. I can't say that that's happened in a long time. There's been a couple matches that I really gave a shit about. I really cared about all these matches, surprisingly. And it, like you said, it looked like shit on paper, and none of these matches mattered.
And I shitted on all these matches except for AJ and Brock. I shitted on it when it was Ginger and Brock. And I can sit here and say that I was mistaken and they did a fantastic job. And I'm extremely, extremely happy with this show. And I thought it was good overall. So, hey, you know what? We shit on them enough when they do stupid shit, which is a lot. But we have to praise them when they do good shit.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to.
This was pretty awesome, and I'm pretty happy with that. And I try not to watch them. I try to watch them like a day after, so I can kind of get an idea of what do people like, what do people not like, so then I can judge it for myself.
Yeah.
Just because if I watch it live, it's always like a pain, and then I'm always like, oh, this is awesome, and then I look back at it, I'm like, Mah. But if I hear people and then I come in and watch it, I don't know why I do that. I'm weird, I guess, but it's. Plus, I watched it. It was like I could watch the whole show. There's a lot of times where I'm fast forwarding through matches, but not this time.
All right, fantastic. All right, so I'm going to kick it back to myself. So thank you, Luke, and I'll see you next time.
All right, later.
All right, fantastic. Now, when it comes to Survivor Series this year, again, I maligned this show on prior episodes of this program, saying that it looked like crap on paper, and it was probably going to be shitty. But I have to give credit where credit's due, and when the WWE presents a good show, I have to say they put on a good show, and Survivor Series 2017 was a really good show. Highlighted by that Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles match, which is amazing. So I think overall it was a good show, and I'm glad they were able to pull one out of the hat here. We'll see if they're able to follow it up.
Right.
So, Matt, in the news, as of late, it looks like the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes are looking to self-finance a show and a 10,000-seat arena. What are your thoughts on this?
I think they can do it. I mean, I hope they do it. I will say this. If it is in the Eastern Seaboard, let's say Philadelphia up, I'll go to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone can pull it off, it'll probably be them. They're marketing wizards at this point, so I think everyone's real hopeful. And again, if it's anywhere in the vicinity of my area, I'm definitely going to the show. Now, it's two different things, guys. I think you guys have to understand. They could sell it out and not make money too. It doesn't have sellouts can be sellouts are sellouts, but sellouts don't all doesn't always translate to financial success.
Right.
Especially if they're to sell it out, you have to do certain things. If you have to bring people in, you have to bring people over from Japan, and get like high level stars for this show, or depends on how big the merchandise is. If they get any sponsors, those really kind of offset the cost of running a show, because rent for these bigger buildings are very expensive. So if they can get a sponsorship by Pro Wrestling Tees, and then they can furnish all the T-shirts and shit for the merchandising stands, that would be a positive. But if you have to fly in, like, you're going to try to get an Okada to come in, that's going to cost you big time money. And you're going to need permission from New Japan. So New Japan's going to have to get a taste. Okada's going to have to get paid big. And then you got to bring people over from Japan. That's going to cost a lot of money.
I don't think they're going to go that route, though. I think they'll go the route of what you want to do is you want to build your brand. But you want to do is also give a rub to it. It's in a thing now where the
it's not a brand yet. It's not a wrestling organization. It's a one shot.
Right, but I'm saying like the Young Bucks and their merchandising ability and the Bullet Club. You have all these fans that are rabid and getting bigger. To me, it's the biggest thing I think since ECW as far as rabid fan base.
I agree.
Like, they just go to the shows and it's like they're crazy about it. I've watched the Being the Elite videos and they're very personable. I think we talked on the phone in the pre-show about maybe it'd be like someone like CM Punk or Daniel Bryan or something like that, and you could go that way. But you can also see guys who grab somebody who's in a similar kind of like where they were like 3 years ago, and give those guys the rub. So you have the Young Bucks take on some other tag team that's really hot and up and coming, that's got a good following.
I mean, you can see like a Matt Riddle. We can see Tom Lawler. We could see who else is out there. Darby Allin, that's out there and available. Joey Ryan will most likely be on this show.
I mean, for example, I used to work with a guy a few stores ago, and he let me borrow his PSG stuff.
Yeah.
And
PWG?
I'm sorry?
PWG, you mean?
PWG. I'm awake. It's 3 a.m. And, seeing Johnny Gargano and Brian Cage and those other guys, Joey Ryan. And, the matches were great. And what you do is you give these guys a platform. Now, maybe you put together some sort of thing where you're like, we're going to have a one-night, Cody Rhodes faces, if you're going to do something big, have Cody Rhodes face CM Punk. I mean, people would go nuts.
Yeah.
And maybe you say to Punk, look, we're going to give you because if you do a big payday, it has to be someone who's going to fill the arena and make it worth your while. Because ultimately, they know the business. So they're going to be able to avoid a lot of the bullshit stuff. And there's enough guys in the business that are up-and-comers that could use this as a showcase show. And like you said, if they can get a contract, do a one-night pay-per-view, something like that, I mean, the guys I work with were talking about it. Like, I'd go. They were like, "Yeah, I would totally go see it." Yeah. That would be a fun time.
A CM Punk would be a long shot, but I think it would fill the building. Daniel Bryan, depending on his contract status, again, would be a long shot, but it could fill the building. But they have to be realistic too. It's like, all right, who else could we get to fill that building? Because if these guys do fall through, you would have to have Cody Rhodes take on. I don't think a Joey Ryan cage match is going to.
No, I'm saying I think you're looking at they could do I don't know if it's 10,000 seats, but I think you can fill a pretty damn good sized arena with just this. We're doing a show. They know the guys. This is for they have fans all over the world that would pilgrimage to go to this thing. I mean, as long as it's in an avenue that's easy to get to, and not
because I have to compare it to a Ring of Honor show that has Omega and the Young Bucks and Cody on it, and they're doing 3,500.
Yeah,
as the high. So to add another 7,000 people to that, it's going to have to be in a major metropolitan area that's accessible, and you're going to have. I think you need stars for this thing. Like you have to get a Rob Van Dam. You have to dust off a Scott Steiner for this.
I mean, think about it. Like, could you do, some kind of novel match that will draw people in as well.
I mean, absolutely.
I think these guys have the creativity and the ability. It's just thinking about it, like it'd be an exciting show to watch. I do think the power of surprise would be a good element to have in. I mean, not to go into our other gaming too much, but if you had a match, let's say a four-way match, and you have Cody defending against one person, and every 2 minutes a new challenger pops up, and you have kind of a mini Royal Rumble within the match, then you have two more people. And one of those people is Scott Steiner or CM Punk. Talk about having the cameras record that pop.
Right. You would have to doing something. You have to deliver on that. Like if you do a scenario where it's Cody Rhodes taking on a mystery opponent.
Yep.
And you don't come up with CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, they're gonna fart at it. So you have to be careful.
Who could you have? I mean, it's another question of the time, but we'll wait till we get there, I guess. Or build towards it. But yeah. I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it, and I wonder if we'll get an NWA title match on that as well, because it looks like our good friend Tim Storm is going around to, like we suggested on this show, go around to all the bigger independent promotions and defending the championship on those shows. So he just had a title defense on the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. They announced a title defense for the House of Hardcore, which is Tommy Dreamer's promotion, and they announced a title defense at CZW. So it looks like they're going around to all the larger indies to get title matches. So that could be interesting. And they have an NWA title match there. Could draw some folks. Not a whole lot of folks, but some folks, depending on the opponent.
I agree.
All right, guys. So we are officially out of time. So for